Welcome to Ignite Interviews. I'm Cyndi Donahue, and I'm very excited to be talking today to John Bryant of NoLi Brewhouse. So good to see you.
Thanks for having me.
Not in our neighborhood. So we
Yes.
see each other all the time walking in our neighborhood, which is so fun, you and your wife, Cyndi.
Yep.
So tell me a little bit about the origin story, like how NoLi came to be.
There's a lot of layers to this onion, but NoLi is really about world-class beer and creating an epicenter in Spokane to create a new economy. It's about hope, it's about community, and it's about creating a cause. And that runs deep in our veins. It gets us up in the morning really early. It keeps us up late at night. It is an entire family, community, brewery passion. And the origin really, I mean, for me personally, really goes back, and I talk about it frequently because it's motivating to me, is just generations of sacrifice in my family that allowed Cyndi and I and her family generations of sacrifice to have this opportunity. If it wasn't for a community, my grandmother and grandfather wouldn't have made it. And if it wasn't for the community, my dad would have not got us athletic scholarship to college that changed the direction of our family. And I love being in the trade of making beer because it reflects the trade that my family comes from. Cyndi's family moved to Spokane in 1917, sponsored by the St. Al's Church at Gonzaga, from Naples, Italy, on a boat, hit Ellis Island, hit a train, ends up in Spokane in 1917. My family came out here during the Dust Bowl when my great-grandmother told my grandma at 17 with a 1-year-old, and my grandfather, who was 18, basically get out of here and go find a life. And they hitched a ride to Western Washington, and they lived on a football field in a tent for a better part of a year through the winter with a 1-year-old.
Wow.
And were fed by a food bank. But my grandfather and grandmother were so thankful being out of South Dakota because you could hunt and fish and grow a garden and have kind of subsistence living. So whenever times get dark for me, it was never that dark. And so the origin story of NoLi is community, because we need community. I'm here by the grace of God and community in my family. It's about perseverance, it's about problem solving, and it's about caring for other people.
And you started in the brewery business, I mean, like right out of college, right?
Yeah, I mean, I worked at the Coug at Washington State, and I was fortunate enough to be one of the young people into a heritage brewer before it went away in the late 80s, Rainier Brewing Company and Henry Weinhardt's, Seattle and Portland, and got to learn a ton. And I got to learn from people that were at that time 65 years old in 1988, 89, and they'd seen the trade of beer in America created. I got to do my first brew in 1989 and learn extensive sensory panel training way back before that was a thing. But what it taught us was to be really good, you have to be a tradesperson and hone your trade. And to be a great tradesperson, it takes decades.
So you've been doing this quite a while.
Been doing it, right. I've been very fortunate to be part of 5 other breweries and learned a lot all the way from part of the beer making process to the finance, to the human resources, to the sales, to the marketing, to, people. And what you learn and what I've learned over the years is it's always 100% about people. People is your community as well. And I think one of the first things we did, we had to borrow money to put together when we got NoLi going, but we had to borrow more money to put our benefits package in place that we had no business doing. We didn't have the cash flow to do it, but we bet on people. And today I think the first thing that shows caring love of community is how you treat the people you are with. And we have one of the highest paid kitchens in the region. Anybody at NoLi, including a server, can have medical, dental, vision, and a 401k program. You just have to work 30 hours a week, but anybody here has the ability to get 30 hours a week.
Wow. So you really, you focused on creating your team and creating a culture of kind of like family. You're taking care of people in a way that's as if your team is your family.
Yeah, it's family with, really a high level of accountability and goal setting. And we try to teach servant leadership. And servant leadership can sound kind of odd today, right? But servant leadership means you have a greater purpose, a greater meaning in life, and that you exist to serve other people. And you do that through your trade or through your chosen path in life. So if NoLi if we're here to make world-class beer, some of the best beers in the world, if that's really part of our early mission, then through that we can serve our community, we can serve people, we can make Spokane and be a part of making it even a better place. And so part of working and being a part of NoLi is you have to have really high standards, and you have to know that you have to be a bit selfless. You're second in line. And when you come in here, it's important that we serve you too. We serve each other, but you're here to serve a customer, and that might be inconvenient.
Right. And it's also serving your fellow teammates, right? I mean, servant leadership is, how can I help you?
Yeah, and I think in today's society, teaching that, it's not being submissive. It's not being, being a servant leader is strong. That's a strong personality. That's somebody who knows who they are. That's somebody who has the ability to give. And a lot of our charity giving, we go and help out on the fringes where 100% of the monies make it right to the street level where people are just trying to subsistence live. And it's hard to be a servant leader when you're just trying to live. And so as our people in our community, what we call NoLi, learns to understand the impact by being successful can do in their community, that's a big full circle 360 teaching time.
Yeah, I mean, your product is, I mean, we'll talk about your product later.
Yeah,
but I love this philosophy conversation. So, so I mean, your product is brews and other kind of products, but really your purpose really drives everything else. I mean, your focus on community is driving all else.
Yeah, I mean, in the beer industry, since I got out of school, being a part of Deschutes Brewery and Odell and Oscar Blues, we'd done this 25 years before we came back home to Spokane. And the family, and not just my immediate family, my parents and my brothers and sisters made a lot of sacrifice of maybe not seeing us because we did travel. We worked 80, 90 hours a week for 25 years.
Wow.
I mean, so this is an all-in journey so that our mark, hopefully, on the beer industry, our mark in Spokane is that we helped make it a better place. But you got to give a lot, and you make a lot of sacrifice. You don't get it all. So you trade this for that. And it's a constant assessment of how much personal sacrifice, and I'm not just talking money, but personal time into people do you have that takes away from your own immediate family. And I think what makes NoLi special is that we compete for the future. We compete to help make Spokane better. We compete to have the greatest benefits for people that work and are a part of us. We compete to create wealth. And when I talk about wealth, that can be an odd word to say. Wealth is you can have cash flow that's positive. You're able to go pay your debts and people that you owe money to. And then what's left, I call that wealth. And how you disperse that wealth, what you do with it, I think defines what a business is. And so for NoLi, when we get to a place, if we have any kind of wealth, we try to disperse it with our people and into the community directly for those who have not. And I think that's what makes NoLi special as a brewery, as a trade, and as a community.
Yes, so I mean, your philosophy overshadows everything that you do. But let's dial it back. So when you started, how many years ago did you guys open here in Spokane?
We started 10 years ago nearly.
10 years. And so what product did you start with?
So we started with 3 beers, and it was a Born and Raised IPA, a Silent Treatment Pale Ale, and a Crystal Bitter. And the only beer that exists today is Born and Raised, and it's actually a much evolved, better, different recipe. You're talking different yeast strains, different hops, different alcohol content, different malt build. And I think it's much more flavorful. It's got more aromatic. It's got a different flavor that releases as you drink. It's not big and heavy as a lot of Northwest IPAs at that time were. Mm-hmm. And so our beers have evolved to today where literally we compete in 3 different categories in serving the community, which is craft beer. We have hard seltzer and hard seltzer lemonade. And then we're in the craft can cocktail arena. And we're one of probably just a handful of beverage brewers in America that are in all 3 categories. And what's cool about that is it's created more jobs. It will create wealth that can be in this community. And it's one of those things that will attract people to Spokane, to fill the hotels for tourism, to make Spokane a vibrant economic place to live.
So it always comes back to community in Spokane, which I love. And so NoLi was named, the number 3 brewery in the country, is that right?
Yeah, well, it's pretty awesome. Over the last 2+ years, NoLi is in the top 3 award-winning breweries in America. And what is, it's hard to talk about that because you could be seen as arrogant or, throwing your weight around. But really, I think the pride of the city embraces it. And it's kind of a sleepy, under-the-line topic that we don't really talk a lot about. But this brewery in Spokane, Washington, is a top 3 award-winning brewery in America. And that's nearly 10,000 breweries. And those are, sweeping the awards in England with both our hazy beers. It's, crushing it in Munich. It's going to Brussels. It's in Ohio. It's in New York City. It's at the Washington Beer Awards. It's whatever it happens to be. But the cool thing here is there's a lot of other amazing beers in Spokane. And if we can help put Spokane on the map to bring more attention into the city to try other beers, that's the movement. The movement is more than just NoLi. The movement is another 40 breweries creating a staycation, creating a tour, creating national media. And you can compare it a little bit to Gonzaga. When Gonzaga starts winning and they get number one, they start recruiting all these athletes. You get ESPN in town. The hotels are full. You got the Farnham bread, from the Davenport. I mean, and they're talking about it during the NCAA tournament. Spokane on the East Coast was known as just Gonzaga.
Yeah.
But now it's being known for food, that culinary experience, music, the arts, craft beer.
So, I mean, really, your innovation in beer and in craft cocktails and everything else has really led to Spokane being able to reach your ultimate goal, which is being a hub of breweries.
Yeah, I mean, through COVID was really difficult, and it still is. We tried to find those gems within COVID so we didn't kind of go to sleep. We made a commitment as a culture to stay very active. We doubled, tripled down in investments, and during COVID, that 15 months, we literally, the words pivot or engaged, and became literally an incubator brewery and probably one of the top few in America in innovation during COVID. We came out with we had our Day Fade hard seltzer line, but then we created our Day Fade hard lemonade. We're now into craft can cocktails with a Moscow Mule and a cucumber lime mojito. But we also have 3 new hazy beers. We have a light hazy that's 98 calories, 3.5% alcohol. 3Z does it. And we just have this powerful hometown portfolio that is really hard to make. The tradespeople we have that create it are, in my opinion, just brilliant people. And they have a chosen career to work with their hands on cement, to use their minds, to use all their senses, right? And to create something that's awesome. And what I've learned being in the industry for a long time now is a trade takes decades. It just takes decades. If you're going to be great at anything in your life, it takes time. And
to hone your skill.
To hone it and sacrifice. Mm-hmm. And I think what I love about NoLi now is with our great team of people, we are coming of age almost. So what we've done in the past is really just a foundation. That's the origin of NoLi. Is everything is about continuous improvement, believing in the future, world-class beer, and then being able to share the success of that created into our community.
And who on your team gets to create all these amazing cocktails and drinks and beers? I mean, who are kind of the craftsmen or the tradespeople that are doing that?
I mean, it takes an entire team. It goes from, Rab, a head brewer, and Devin and Michael. It takes our cellar people to be involved. It takes my son Cole, who has led our craft can cocktails. It's really a lot of minds that are fully engaged in a trade that they love. And the cool thing I think about NoLi is we're never satisfied, because we're competing for this city that when we started NoLi 10 years ago, it was back when it was Spokanistan, Spokanada, Spokompton, Spokane doesn't suck. You flash forward 10 years and that's ridiculous even to say Spokane doesn't suck.
Now we're Spoke awesome.
Yeah, exactly. But that took a lot of collaborations and a lot of people believing. Mm-hmm. And we get to help shape the city different from Walla Walla, different from Bend, Oregon, different from Fort Collins. We get to help shape Spokane and what it should be.
And what is it about the community of Spokane or the people in Spokane, do you think, that makes this a great place to launch your business, to have a business?
Spokane's a tough town. It's like being on a really competitive sports team. You got to earn your jersey. And you always have to re-earn your jersey. It's like you're trying out every week. What I love about Spokane that's hard, but you love it, is that you have to prove it. There's no Johnny-come-latelys. You need to be transparent. Like when we do a charity, we'll call our shot sometimes knowing that we're going to have to spend it, but we want to. And it's important for us to say, let's say we raise $80,000 with our community. The community needs to have trust and faith that those $80,000 checks are written, delivered, no pass-through, it goes to work, and then we can report back and say, here's the work. That's what Spokane demands, and it should. So that raises the bar for a business to elevate, to go, if I'm truly going to be a servant leader, I'm going to have to feel it. And so sometimes it's writing a check, and sometimes it's simply your time. Sometimes it's simply getting out there and feeling what people feel and where they're at. And Cyndi, my wife, is a CASA, child advocate in the courts. So there's successes and there's a lot of hardship in those stories that happens. But when you're able to give money into something you know that but potentially could help one child get into a great home and change the direction of their life, then the business has a purpose. And a brief story would be when COVID hit and the school districts weren't ready to open up their cafeterias for a week back March, 2 Marches ago. We kind of mobilized with the principal at Logan Elementary, which is our neighborhood school. I think it's top 5 for basically economically distressed families. 95%, I think, something like that, are on reduced or free food, for lunches. We mobilized our kitchen. We worked with Ultimate Bagel, Christy up there. She's awesome. We did 1,200 meals essentially in 5 days, delivered them. The cool part was that we had people in our kitchen who made the meals, who delivered the meals, who helped serve the meals, that would tell you afterwards, it's the first time I've ever served versus being served. That's an empowering place to be when you have the ability to give back when you've been the person on the receiving end. And I think the powerful thing for me that we can always solve a problem. There's always another hour in the day. Sleep is for later. That we have the ability to be successful, to create wealth, to give back, to help people. That drives this business. Now, we don't exist unless we make world-class beer, and we have to earn that every week, every month. And our staff know that every batch of beer goes through the sensory, goes through the lab, and it has to be on its mark. If it's not on its mark, it doesn't leave.
So your whole team gets to participate in being servant leaders, in the community, but what you were saying about Spokane being a tough place, you have to be genuine. I was listening to what you were saying, and it's you can't be a fad, right?
No.
Like you're saying, you can't come and go, you have to show that you've earned, not only in the kind of the quality of your product, but who you are, right? Who your team is.
Well, and there's all that, you give till it hurts. The early days of NoLi, we borrowed money and gave it away that we had no business doing. But if your belief system is so deep, and we didn't necessarily have the brands or the quality potentially to get us to where we need to go. So you can say that's just a bad move. But when you're painted into a corner, you either fold or you come out. It's fight or flight. We choose maybe not necessarily to fight, but we choose to get out of that corner. And then that triggers all kinds of things in your mind to figure it out.
So that tenacity is just going to carry you guys through. I'm so excited to see what happens in the next 10 years.
Yes, it's about the future. What NoLi is today is really the foundational of, like you said, the why, the origin, but all that is just a platform for today. We have just gotten started. We're highly motivated to really put Spokane nationally and internationally as a place to come for not only NoLi craft beers and hard seltzers and craft canned cocktails, but for the other breweries in the area. If we can do that, it's what they call a zero-sum game, where if I win, you lose. That's not true. If we can drive new revenues into this city because people want to come visit, you fill the hotels. You've got a great guy who's a mentor of mine, Tim O'Doherty, packed to the gills, which he probably is anyway. But then you've got all the service industry benefit. You have all the things that go with tourism, driving more jobs, driving more economy, driving more breweries. Then it becomes vibrant.
Well, I know that we're all so, wouldn't just say proud, but grateful that NoLi is so committed to our community, and I can't wait to see what things come in the future. So thank you for taking time out of your day and out of your creations to talk with me today.
Thanks for being here.
Good to see you.
You too. Thank you.